Okay, so we're a bit hot. Let me get a sip of ice water here.
Okay.
Bradford, are you ready?
Oh, I'm more than ready.
All right, well, rolling. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good June. Welcome to ShiftLess. Hello, Biscuit.
Biscuit.
Do we call it Junmidity?
It is heavy-duty Junmidity, and coming to you not from Chateau de Green. Well, first off, Bradford, would you introduce our cohort today?
We're coming from the house that DJ Caleb lives in.
We call it Rancho Wills.
Rancho Wills?
Yeah. Yay!
All right. Yeah, so crazy weather continues. Crazy weather has been nonstop for, it seems like months, but I guess it's a couple weeks.
I've had enough rain. Although I was talking to Roy last night, and he was saying that in 2015, when we had the big flood and North Shore was super fucked, we got 16.96 inches of rain in the month of May.
There's a lot of similarity to this year as the 2015 year. And if y'all remember, I started talking in December. I think we're in a flood year. Mm-hmm. And are you checking out already?
I'm just gonna shut the door. You guys keep going.
But this month or this year, in the month of May, we only had like 7 inches of rain. So it was a lot less than what we had, but the lake levels are still really high.
Well, so we're just almost approaching 554 right now at surface level. It was 565 in 2015. 2015 got to this 555-ish level where we're at now at fairly the same rate. Mm-hmm. But now we're expanded width-wise into the floodplains. So for the lake to go up higher, to get from that 554 to 565, it takes a bunch more water because it's spread out over such a wide
Someone, I don't know if it was TJ or somebody from the Knob Hill posted that the water was still rising. It was at 13 feet over the tree.
14 is
what
I
it really?
saw. Yeah.
Well, so 554 is 19 feet over.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, I'm sorry. Knob Hills goes underwater at 537. So, whatever the math is on that 14 feet over.
You said it was relatively the same rate, but I feel like we had fewer very, very significant rain events in 2015. And here, it's just like, I know we've had some big rain events, but it's like every other day we get half an inch, 2 inches.
No, the 2015 was really similar because what happened, but actually more so, and we're getting what Jan and I call Florida weather. Everything's so saturated here. Yeah. So with these 90-degree plus temperatures, even when they don't think there's any rain in the forecast, there's so much moisture in the ground, it heats up and it just turns into crap and comes back down. And the soil's so saturated that it all runs off into the lake.
The worst would be to have another one of those windstorms. Right now would just topple trees.
Yeah.
So traditionally when grapevine floods, that's kind of the thing that usually takes it over the top is June or July, late June through July. We'll have one of those tropical storms blow in from the Gulf. Yeah. And that just sits on top of us for 2 or 3 days, just putting a couple more feet of.
Yeah.
Did you happen to see what we got? The rain that came in last night. Did you happen to see the radar? All that came from due north.
It came from Oklahoma. Yeah, they were predicting it last night though. They were saying that was but it ended up being more than they were expecting and further west than they were expecting. Yeah. So we got more here on our end of the world. Yeah. And people listening to this, they're either in the middle of it, so they don't want to hear about it anymore, or they don't live anywhere around here and they don't give a shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, thanks for
we have to talk about the weather.
Knocking out an episode last week in our
absence.
Hey, I knew you guys had your hands full in multiple ways.
But in our defense, we weren't having any fun whatsoever behind those chainsaws.
Yeah.
That spending all day cutting trees and limbs out of people's yards, I don't threaten me with a good time, is what Chef Brad Green would say.
Yeah. I enjoy running a chainsaw. I felt like we were really productive.
You felt very manly, didn't you?
Not any different than any other day.
Caleb, what a great response.
Caleb came over and we made quick work of all the debris I had down.
Brad actually had a moderately dangerous, luckily it was away from the house, but he had a moderately dangerous situation where he had a branch that was bigger than any tree trunk in my yard. I mean, this branch was probably 16 inches. 16 inches. It probably weighed 2,000 pounds maybe. Anyway, it had fallen.
It was a tree.
But it didn't seprate completely from the tree, so it was hanging on by the
it
limbs.
Was separated. It was just leaned against
that's what
the
I meant.
tree.
Like friction was holding it. And so wind, one of those branches at the bottom could have broke. So we carefully cut away, just slice by slice, till we could finally get it to fall.
Yeah. It was kind of wild. We got it all cut up and got it all done.
We're going to have a bonfire in the fall.
Yeah, now
Brad's.
When everything dries out, I'll burn it.
Oh, fall of 2025.
Yeah. About when North Shore opens.
Yeah.
We're working on it. All right, so Brad and I chatted about it on the way over. Oh, and just the reason we're at Caleb's place is Brad's back porch is basically underwater right now. There wasn't a convenient place for us to set up, and we would have been eaten alive by mosquitoes as well.
That's probably accurate. Although I do have a crazy awesome remedy for mosquitoes now.
Oh, I'm all ears.
I bought one of those hippy dippy TikTok videos or reels or something I saw. It's cinnamon leaf oil. Not cinnamon bark oil, cinnamon leaf oil.
Okay.
And it's like an essential oil, but ideally you want to dilute it with some other oil, like coconut oil or something. But I take like just 2 drops and put it on my hand and put it on around my ankles, and you don't get touched.
Interesting.
By anything.
And you can buy that at any hippy dippy
Any idea if it works?
online store.
I ordered it off of Amazon.
Any idea if it works with ticks too?
I would imagine. I don't know.
Okay. I will try it out this
I learned recently that ticks are attracted to CO2. It's the gas.
I know mosquitoes are. Yeah. I wasn't aware that ticks were.
Yeah, I watched a video and they were talking about collecting ticks to sample them for Lyme disease and Lone Star disease. And the way they gather them is they use a piece of dry ice because it emits so much CO2. Mm-hmm. And they'll put a piece of CO2 in a dry ice in a container. And they said they can come back an hour or 2 later and there'll be hundreds of ticks.
Interesting.
So I just thought that was interesting.
Good to know. So, all right. So
thanks, bug nerd.
Sorry.
On the trip over, learned that Brad did not make it to Emporia, which was my guess.
Mm-hmm. Correct choice too for him.
And Caleb did still make it to Emporia.
He did.
Okay. Give us the rundown of your pre-event festivities and what that kind of looked like for Caleb. You had to take care of stuff here at the house, correct?
Yeah. Getting trees cut down here, and then I had a bunch of neighbors around the hood that needed some chainsaw work. Oh darn! Got to use a chainsaw.
Got to crank up that chainsaw.
So got that fixed. We never lost power, so it wasn't a big deal for me to leave. So yeah, I left Wednesday morning, and I had I had focused so much on the ride plans that I thought that the dormitory, which I stayed in the dorms again. Super convenient, food not that great, but the food is prepared and you don't have to worry about it. Anyway, so we had planned on camping at Base Camp Flint Hills, which is about 20 minutes north of Emporia. It's a big property that people have. There's a bathroom and showers and all that. Well, I was going to camp that one night, wake up the next morning, and then go into the dorm. But I ended up staying in the dorm the whole time. Got in Wednesday and kind of got everything settled, and then my Shimano client and friend had been inducted into the Gravel Hall of Fame. So
and that friend is?
That is Nick Legan. He is the yay! Congrats, Nick. No, really, he does. I mean, he literally wrote a book called Gravel Cycling.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I mean, it's a really beautiful book too. You can get it on Amazon. So he got inducted in. I did not make it to the induction ceremony. First off, I think it's like $700 to get into that. You have to pay to get into the ceremony.
What?
Yeah, or $500. Like, it's a lot of money to get in. But that gets you dinner as well and some other perks. But Merchant Cycles had
some Spirit of Gravel stuff there.
It's very Spirit of Gravel. Yes. And then I went to the Merchant Cycles after party, and it was. I'm not a huge fanboy, but at one point I was standing in a room with Yuri, Rebecca Rush, JPV, Betsy Walsh. I mean, there was the who's who of names there, and I've met each of those in different time periods, and they don't know me. It's not like they saw me and recognized me, but it was interesting to just be in that. You're so in gravel.
Yeah.
Right,
You're at the biggest gravel race, and then you've got these legends of endurance cycling. Bobby Wintle was there and ended up playing guitar, rocking it out for a while. That was kind of fun. So just hung around there for a while, and I didn't stay up too late. I didn't.
This was Wednesday?
This was Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah. So then Thursday, got up, had breakfast. I went to bed pretty early on Wednesday. Probably, I was in bed by 8:30, 8:45, which is, I made myself get in, and I watched stuff on my laptop for a while, but I just sit down, stop walking around, because you're tempted to walk and hang around because there's so much going on.
Right.
And then Thursday morning I got up and
your fans are all over the place wanting to see you.
Yes. I will say the bike got a lot of attention because you have to roll your bike in and out of the dorms, and there's probably, I don't know, maybe there's 200, 300 people in it, because there's 4 dorm buildings. There's 2 smaller towers and there's 2 taller towers. I think they're like 6 stories tall.
Very nice.
Very
nice.
Yeah, at one point there were some guys standing around my bike, and I walked around the corner and it said, "Is that sledgehammer?" Let's see.
So that was Wednesday night?
That was Thursday morning is when really things kind of came alive. That's when I think Thursday at 3 is when the expo opened up. But I woke up on Thursday and kind of hung around, had a late breakfast, went out and did a 15-mile little loop just to get my legs. Because at that point I hadn't ridden. On Thursday I hadn't ridden since Sunday. Came back, I don't know, I think I went over and started kind of chatting with the Shimano guys that were setting up the tent over at Shimano Park. And then we had packet pickup, which was really disorganized. They still have it in this on the top story of this museum warehouse kind of thing, and it's just not big enough for that many people.
Yeah.
The
year I did it, they did it in the theater.
Yeah, we did it.
There's no way they can do it that either.
No,
they need
I get that.
Yeah, they need a much larger space.
The theater was full in 2011.
I'm in the shortest line. The XL's the shortest line, and they moved our line twice, trying to figure out because when on our check-in, not only do you just walk up and say your name like a spin history event and you get your number, they have to pre-check to make sure your tracker has been set up correctly and that you're identified and all that. Then you go get in another line, so you get in multiple lines.
Yep.
And then after that, we had a racers meeting, and they sent out a "We want your feedback" email, and I typically don't, whether I have good feedback or not, I typically don't reply to a bunch of things, but I am going to reply to this. We had, on 2 different instances, we had the route modified. Both reasons were for safety, totally understandable. Along with that, we had 2 different times where they changed details or outright changed locations of resupply stops. Mm-hmm. Totally fine with that too. The problem is they scattershot that information, and then we didn't get the information about the resupply stops until the pre-race meeting, and it was just an by the way. We needed, I'm going to reply back and say, look, this is a 350-mile self-supported race. When you make that many changes, send us an email.
Yeah.
Just start all over.
Yeah.
And send us one email that has
everything. Yeah.
You don't even have to tell me what has changed. Just say, here are the things now.
Yeah.
Again, but one of the reasons they changed it is there was a kind of a low area and the water was too dangerous to cross. Totally okay with that. I don't mind that.
I think I know exactly what spot that
Yeah.
likely was, because
Yeah.
I was thinking about it when I was heading up there. It's like, looks like a cool spot to hang out and watch them come by.
Sure. And then one of them was, there was a town that was having a rodeo.
Okay.
And so they were just kind of, they just kind
Seems
of.
like they would have known about that leading up to.
but even so, I'm glad that they did, and I'm glad, like, I'm fine with the I don't have a problem with the, hey, we have to change the route. It's just, I spent Thursday evening and some of Friday morning reworking my plans and sorting through multiple emails, the notes I took on my phone in the pre-race meeting.
But I just want to make sure I understand what you're saying. But they had it all settled by the pre-race meeting, or there was still stuff that changed even after the pre-race?
Nothing changed after the pre-race meeting.
Okay.
It was just that you were getting it in multiple shots. It would have been nice to have a single point of truth that could have been updated.
When you say multiple shots, during that meeting, just sprinkled in? Or
No, the two route changes. One route change happened the day before, so on Wednesday or Tuesday. One route, and they sent an email on that.
Okay.
Then they sent another email on Thursday morning with a route change. In between those, they had one resupply change.
Okay.
And then in the meeting, he just read off, oh, here are the mileage markers and here are the changes there. Having one document that
I'm nailing you down on this from my own promoter's perspective.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
I run into similar situations, I'm not saying the way we do it is better. I'm liking hearing the participant's perspective, because we always say our routes are preliminary until they are marked on Friday, and then but I mean, we give a night before, all right, here's final stuff.
Yep.
I realize people would love for things to be final days in advance, weeks in advance, but obviously, I mean,
sure, totally understandable.
Here's a perfect example.
Yeah.
This is Unbound. This is the biggest gravel event in the world, and they still have those weather variables and municipal logistics that come up and change things last minute as well. So from a participant's perspective, would you rather it be sprinkled as they came across those changes and then clarified again in that riders meeting, or would you rather it just be it's understood until nothing's final until the riders meeting, and we hit you with all of it at the same time during the rider? What would be a better
what would have been a better option was would have been the finality is, and in hindsight, I could have raised my hand in the racers meeting, but I was literally on the back row, and I was too busy trying to remember the things that he said, and then going back and looking at my notes. I could have raised my hand and say, hey, can you send us an email in the morning, Friday morning? Just send us an email that has all
everything.
List out everything, and that would have made all the difference.
Okay, and so they didn't do that.
They did not do that.
Okay, no, and that's all I'm trying to clarify.
That would have been an easy fix.
And
yes,
with everyone on the understanding that this is the sequence, that there is a possibility of changes. Everything will be defined as final by X.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would have, and again, I could have said something and spoke up, but I was preoccupied. But if he had said, "Don't worry, you don't have to memorize this now. We're going to send you guys an email tonight." And
there won't be any more changes after noon tomorrow, or whatever. Yeah.
But they didn't. They never gave that consolidated final. This is everything. Last change, and here's everything at once.
Yep.
That's what we send out as, okay, here's Spinistry final notes. So
it
sounds like we're doing it what would line up with your preferred way.
I think they have a lot more irons in the fire, and they have a lot more chiefs.
No, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But yes, that consolidation final notes notification.
Yep.
Any other events promoters out there, something to be cognizant of.
Now, I'm not trying to be negative to what I'm not saying, oh my God, you guys made other shit. I'm gonna sing praises on one thing they did. That last route change that they made, the second one, there was a little confusion around it because it was the two different roads almost run parallel. They stationed a guy at that spot and was actively pointing, yelling, "This is the reroute. Keep going this way."
Traffic control.
Yeah. So that was I mean, it's not like they were, completely mistake ridden. It was just that's a thing that would have been helpful.
Did we ever get clarification? If I remember right, the last time we spoke, it was kind of a gray area if support was allowed or not for the XL.
It definitely was not. They did reiterate that in the meeting. I think what they sent out the XL Riders Handbook, and they sent out the 100, 200
the
rider's handbook, and they forgot to bring
the more sane people's handout.
Yeah, and they forgot to remove one page of that PDF that said, "Here are your."
Yeah.
But that's for people that may have never done a self-supported race. That's really confusing to them.
Yeah,
but they did reiterate that.
It's a learning point, no doubt about it.
Yeah. So Thursday, I got up and had a massive breakfast. Then went out and rode another pre-ride. Came back, had lunch. And we'll touch more on this in it later. I had a hard time eating lunch.
Is that foreshadowing? There?
Yeah, a little foreshadowing. I did not eat as much as I thought I normally would. I even texted Kay and said I didn't really have a big lunch. I'm full. I guess I'm still full from breakfast because I had a pretty big breakfast. So I chalked it up on that, and then did some last minute packing and adjustments. On the bike, and then had a little went over to Shimano and had a little bit of a bike tune right beforehand. Interesting enough, my InReach Messenger, I left it on the charger all night long and woke up and it was only 78%. And I changed multiple cords. I changed it from the laptop to the wall. It never charged over 78% maybe. Went to the Garmin tent, not really in a panic, but hey, this is not going to charge all the way. Is something going on? They said, don't worry, 78%. You've got.
Yeah.
You've still got still got 10 days.
Yeah, and then I calmed down about it. Okay, and I think by the time I hung it up, I had 75%. It barely moved at all. So
mine did the same thing last time I used it.
Came home, plugged it in. 100%.
Yeah.
So I don't know what was going on. Maybe it was a weird cord or whatever.
I think it was the last time mine did an update. I think I charged it prior to the update, and then after the update went through, it just showed a lower battery. But
it didn't.
I plugged it in, and it only took 10 minutes to get fully charged. But anyway, keep going. Tell us more.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about the start? Or do we want to talk about the bike? What we ended up, or when do we want to talk about that?
I want to talk about all of it.
Let's talk about it. Let's stay in chronological order.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say let's talk about the bike after.
Okay.
After wheels stop turning.
The start was uneventful, other than we had a helicopter follow us out, which was kind of cool. Similar to 24 Hours in the Canyon. It started off fast, very fast, and I played my game, but I felt really good.
And start was
3 p.m.
3 p.m. Friday.
Yep.
So what was your Friday morning like? Because you talked about your Thursday lunch not eating.
That was Friday.
Oh, that was Friday lunch. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they didn't do lunch on Thursday. I think that's when I saw Dylan at the burrito shop there on the north end of town, just right south of the campus. Did see Dylan and saw. I think
was he getting a vegan burrito?
He had been done eating, but I'm pretty sure a couple of those guys were his bunk bros.
Yeah.
One of them looked familiar. And then sat outside and ate lunch next to a guy who was a expat Dutchman who had recently moved to Vancouver, and we chit-chatted around. Oh, I met you guys might have seen it floating around on the different gravel Facebook pages, but there's this guy Alexi that had rode from Dallas to Hico.
Yeah.
Flew into Dallas, rode to Hico.
Yeah.
I walked in. I got immediately when I got into town to Emporia, I forgot a few things, so I stopped at Walmart. He's sitting there, so I started chatting with him. He rode from Hico, to Emporia, and I said, "Did you have how did you route it?" He goes, "I just found roads." Talk about just gutting it out, and he was staying at state parks and stuff. And
I had a route from Gainesville to Emporia, but
there was quite a few people that rode there and then did the race.
Yeah,
there was some chick I saw,
and he didn't even have an entry into Unbound. He was trying to his ultimate. First off, he's French Canadian.
Last name wasn't Proctor then.
No. It was Cartier, Alexis Cartier.
And he was doing what was he trying to do?
He was trying to get into the 200.
The 200. Okay.
Yeah, he and his goal is trying to get into the Grand Prix. Mm-hmm. Anyway, super cool guy. Saw him another couple of times. Talked to him about the Tasha Trail. He was interested in that, so I sent him a link to that.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
All right. So three o'clock. Did you ever come across Justin Carey?
I never saw him.
Okay.
Based on the photo and the video that I saw, he was in front of me
at the start,
and I didn't see him, but he had to have been within 10 yards in front of me at the start. Yeah.
Yeah. When you sent us a picture of the start line, McAfee circled him and said, "All you need to do is beat that guy."
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay. Yeah.
You were already riding by that point.
I have a funny story to tell.
Okay.
And I'm not picking on this guy because we all love this guy, but if I were to tell of the people that you knew locally who were in that race, there's one other guy.
In the XL?
Yeah. And if the announcers were to say, the following people need to turn their tracker on, you're not tracking, who would that person be?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, well, it would be Peter.
Yes.
Would be my guess.
Oh.
The most Peter thing would be, Peter, turn your tracker on.
He wasn't there.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah, he wasn't there.
Okay.
Why did he not go?
I don't know.
Is he still mad?
Mad?
Because he wouldn't count his finish last year?
Is he mad about that?
No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
He got a lot more attention than if they'd have posted his finish.
Oh, yeah.
No, I don't know the specifics. I saw that he did a ride report from down below Maypearl, and he got bit by a dog over the weekend.
Oh, shit.
Oh, no shit.
So why he wasn't there, that part I don't know. But yeah, I saw his name on the list for tracking and no updates.
Okay, that would make sense. But I had a chuckle because I was like, okay, if there's anybody that hasn't turned their tracker on,
no, exactly,
love him to death.
Exactly right. Exactly right. That and actually that was my first thought because I started watching the tracking maybe 30 minutes in, and I saw Peters wasn't updating. It's like I almost texted him to turn on his tracker.
Yeah. So they started us off, and I will say it is pretty cool to ride your bike down a chute and have.
How many people started the XL?
200-ish, maybe a little less with Peter not being. I don't know who.
So 200 in the field,
Yes.
and somewhere between 150 and 200 that actually started.
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was cool to ride through that chute. Maybe there was 2,000, 3,000 people. I mean, it was 6 or 7 people deep for a quarter of a mile long.
Very cool.
I guess that was pretty cool to have that. That was really neat. And then it started fast, but I stuck to my plan. I did get a little bit out of zone 2 a little bit at the start, but I would peel it back a little bit.
So we're not going to dig into the details of the full bike layout yet, but what did you end up settling on for water bottles?
Yeah.
Camelback or whatever
I ended
else?
up going with a Camelback because the temperature. This was the best. With the exception of the humidity, I got cold in the middle of the night and ended up putting on the extra layer that I had.
Yeah, I think anybody that did Unbound this year is gonna, if they ever hope to find better weather, they're gonna be barking up the wrong tree.
Especially for Saturday. Saturday's weather was even better because the humidity was a little warmer.
Yeah.
But the humidity was way
down.
lower.
Yeah.
I mean, there were some parts in the middle of the night where you were riding, and even though you were on very groomed, very nice packed gravel, it was so foggy I couldn't see 30 yards in front of me.
I'm guessing the Northern Europeans were still uncomfortable, but for Kansas, June, I think that's about the best weather you can probably get.
Yep. Yeah, because I had started. I didn't even had it been warmer. My plan was to not go with a Camelback and not even wear a jersey. I was going to wear one of my
going topless.
I was going to go topless, bibs on though. But I love those ultralight.
One strap hanging down in a sexy manner.
A little stylish. A little stylish. I like to cross them.
Yeah.
With buckles. In the back.
Yeah, exactly. So I ended up starting with my regular Big Pig kit, and then in my what's that thing called? My shrew. I had arm sun sleeves, and then I had that sun shirt. I ended up putting that on at about mile 110, 115. Yeah, I was chilly enough to where I put those arm sleeves on and put that jersey on over that fishing shirt over my jersey.
So about what time was that? Rough guess.
I mean, it was chilly most of the day. I never really sweated at all.
So I mean, but you said mile 110. About what time?
That would have been about
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. Yeah, something like that. It started out like just super normal. The crazy thing is, after what we'll get to, with hydration issues. I guess what mileage, Brad, do you think I stopped to pee the first time? What mile was it?
I don't know.
You know my bladder better, almost as good as my wife.
Like probably mile 90.
The first time I stopped to pee?
Yeah.
Try 6, buddy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. How does Brad know this?
Because road trips and the amount of times I stopped to pee on the side of the road.
Okay, I thought he was hardwired into a communicator with
he
you.
knows I have a walnut bladder.
And letting you know that.
So within the first within the first 30 miles, I stopped 5 times to pee.
Damn.
So I'm thinking, dude, I'm hydrated.
Did you overhydrate?
Yeah.
Oh, I know where we're going.
But now. I wasn't sitting. It wasn't like I was just constantly chugging fluids beforehand. I felt like I was doing the nominal thing, my normal thing.
Prior to start, I mean, what were you drinking when you were in Emporia?
I bought.
From Wednesday to start.
On the way down there, I bought 3 bottles of Pedialyte. I had one Wednesday, I had one Thursday, and I had one Friday. Mm-hmm. Other than that, I drank water, drank a couple of fizzy waters every once in a while, but I wasn't overly hydrating.
Mm-hmm. And the Pedialytes, were you diluting those, or were you drinking those straight?
I was drinking them straight, but I was also drinking water kind of in between it. Okay. So anyway, very fast moving, very groomed gravel up until about mile 30, and that's when those tires.
Did you guys go to Cause Road?
I don't remember.
Yeah, that was on.
Divide Road.
A Divide Road for sure. Okay. I remember that, but
Call Reserve or Call Reservation. Right?
Yeah, Call Res. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you guys followed the 200 route or not. I didn't.
We all went out of town, but I don't know when we split. I can tell you, I never saw a split or rejoin.
But you guys didn't roll out with the 200.
No.
Yeah.
No, but we all rolled out in the directions.
Yeah, okay, same direction, yeah.
I think that they just probably had a traffic control turn.
You guys just went further south and had more of a south loop.
We went north.
I understand, but when you came back, you went further south than they did.
I think we went further north and further south.
Okay.
I did not compare the two,
that makes
but
sense.
the visuals that I saw of the two different maps kind of thing.
I know I saw that you guys, the 350 definitely went further south than theirs when I looked, but I didn't look at how far north. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine. Interesting. I thought I would see more larger tire bikes than I did. I did see a couple of guys on the Treks and the Specialized with some of them had drop bars.
I guarantee you will next year.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Some of them had drop bars, some of them had flat bars, but with aero bars. So I definitely saw a few and chatted those guys and talked about tires and stuff. But man, as soon I was itching to really get to the gnarly stuff. Yeah. Even on the 2 shakedown rides I did, it was on like the smoothest gravel you could think of. It was not chunky. It wasn't sharp.
Champagne gravel.
It was.
That's what they call it.
And man, at right about mile 30, you go off a gravel road onto a double track road and just no brakes.
Yeah.
And those tires are amazing. I'm a
Cause Res. They hit that. I think it was like mile 28 or something like that.
That was Call Res.
I probably passed a dozen people just on that downhill section.
They were being timid.
It was just they were. I could see people braking, coming up and down.
Just for a refresher, what tires are these?
I went with the Race King 2.2s with the chili compound.
Yeah,
black chili.
Which last time we talked about his entire setup, he kept saying 2.1, 2.1, 2.1, 2.1.
It's 2.2.
And then after we wrapped the podcast, he goes, I said 2.1, but I was wrong.
I've never claimed to be right about anything.
I know. You're probably
and we
wrong
can back
about
you up on
that.
We should probably go check. Other than that, really nothing eventful in the first 86 miles. I skipped the first 2 refueling stops. The first one was water only. The second one was a gas station at about mile 70. Mm-hmm. And when we got into the first and second refuel area, I was in a group of about maybe 8 people. Mm-hmm. And
were y'all working together?
Yeah, a little bit, and especially in the wind, we were doing. But nobody, we weren't working together in the sense that we were all pegging it.
Yeah.
I was still staying in.
Did you have a sense of where you were position-wise
No,
at that point?
I didn't want to look. I was just
okay.
like, I going into the mindset of I'm just going to go ride and eat.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to put pressure on anything other than focusing on my game plan.
I was going to text you a couple of times and let
Yeah.
you know where Justin was. And just kind of give you updates.
Yeah.
And I was like, he probably doesn't want to know.
I think between the start and around mile, I don't know, 130 or 40, whenever Kay went to bed, she had texted me twice and just said, your position is fine. Like she's not being super detailed.
Sure.
She's not trying to make me feel like I need to push it or pull back. It was, you're doing fine.
Yeah.
You're okay.
Right.
But
Right.
I did not look at the tracker until 150 when I was really digging deep in a hole, trying to figure out how many spots I had dropped back, where I was checking everyone else's average speed.
Okay.
So anyway,
I'm definitely interested in where this is going because I know nothing. I just I know the approximate end result, but
so
no detail.
that group of 8, 6 of them elected to stop at the first food stop, which I think was around mile 76, and myself and this other guy from New York kept riding, and we could see lots of blinky red lights at this truck stop. But this was a big, like TA size, massive truck stop.
Yeah.
Tons of blinky lights. So we opted to go on, and when we got to the 86 mile, it was just a gas station, but it was one of the gas stations that had been in contact with the race and said, we're going to stay open later. We're going to order extra stuff, which is really cool. Like a lot of those gas stations did. I got in.
I think that's one of their biggest days of the year, probably.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean, my one stop, I paid $30, and it was no gas. I mean, I didn't buy any gas. I just bought all food.
Yeah.
So we get there, and there's like 1 or 2 other people. One person's pulling out, so we made the right choice. Like there was no line to stand in.
Yeah.
Because that was one of my biggest fears is getting off the bike and waiting
it was
10
obvious that was one of your biggest
getting off the bike and waiting 10 minutes to buy your food. So I walked in, and even though I had, at that point, I didn't realize it, but that's when my eating issue began because I walked in and I immediately had shopper fatigue. Even though I had an app on, I built a screen, a graphic for my phone that breaks down we talked about the food.
Yeah.
And I was able to grab a few of those things, but nothing on there. I looked at it and nothing, I was going, I don't want to eat that. I don't want to eat that. So I bought a bunch of stuff. I bought like 2 paydays. I bought, they had orange slices, the little gummy orange slices, bought a big bag of that. Slice of cheese pizza, Red Bull. And I can't remember other than that. Water, plenty of water. And I go out and I have to force down a slice of pizza and drink that Red Bull. And I'm thinking, that's kind of weird. Why am I not hungry?
But you were already having eating issues at lunch that day.
I didn't realize what it was.
Right.
So I didn't, at that point on, rolling out and only eating a slice of pizza, and I think I'd burned, at that point, 3,000 calories. Like, I'm already digging that hole. I mean, it's getting deep. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll just keep eating while I'm on the bike while I kept riding and riding.
This is like mile 85?
That's 86, yeah. By the time I got to mile 100, I knew something was not right because it took me 12 miles to nibble on a payday and get it all the way down. And it wasn't, my stomach I never felt like.
And what was in your bottles?
That scratch carb load. Now, up until the way I was fueling my ride up to 86 was through those bottles and through some SIS gels. I've used SIS gels before, so I can't. I mean, it could be those, but it wasn't like the thing in my stomach was upset. It was putting food in my mouth made me nauseous. When I wasn't doing it, I wasn't nauseous. But it got to a point where by about mile 130, like I knew something was wrong, that I've got to figure out why am I not eating? That's all I kept rolling. Why can't I eat? Why can't I drink? I mean, it got to the point where water was difficult to get down. And my average went from 15 to 11.5 in maybe 25 miles. Like I knew my power was rolling down. Long story short, I think I chalked it up on experience and just being mature about it and knowing that every mile that I kept riding is going to be a worse outcome. Mm-hmm. Every mile is going to be a worse outcome. So that hole is getting deeper. So, got to Voland and just pulled over and got off my bike and sat down and was just
about what mile was that?
170.
Okay.
I think.
So interestingly enough, in 2012, when I was there, it was around mile 140-ish that I had the same issue. My stomach locked up. And I was riding with, I can't remember his last name, but Sean from Austin, whom I'd ridden with a couple of times before. And I was telling him what was going on. I said, I just can't eat. I said, my stomach's locked up and now I'm starting to cramp because I wasn't taking in enough. And he handed me a handful of, what is it? Something sport legs, I think, the capsules, that are, I don't know.
Yeah.
And he goes, it's going to suck, but chew them. Don't just swallow them. And he goes, it's going to suck really bad because they're super salty. And I ate them, and within 10 minutes, my stomach loosened up, and I was able to eat and carry on.
So there was another resupply at 124, and I went in and I packed on my bike a packet of instant mashed potatoes. Went to the coffee hot water spigot, mixed that up, ate that down pretty good. Didn't have a problem with that. Couldn't eat anything after that. I mean, I bought like nacho cheese Doritos. That's the easiest thing in the world to eat. Crunched them up in my hand, like in the bag, so I wouldn't have big bites. And put those in my bike so that I could just pour them in my mouth. I still have one on my bike, I think, that I couldn't open up. So even after there, like I'm going through the motions, I'm refueling, I'm filling my bottles, I'm putting my powder in my bottles, and I'm going, this is not going to go very far. And I'm still trying to balance that mindset of balancing experience and maturity on making the right call for my health. Yeah. And balancing that with, am I being a bitch? Yeah. Do I need to suck it up and keep riding?
A whiny bitch.
Yeah, a whiny bitch. And it took another 30 or 40 miles for me to finally go, no, this is, I promised my wife, I'm not going to ride myself into a ditch like I've done in the past. I'm not going to wait until I logically can't make decisions. I'm going to make the decision. And so that's when I called it in. They did give, this is normally a paid service if you're on the 100 or the 200, but they did give us a wristband that has a phone number, but I stashed it. Some people put it on. Yeah. Like, I don't want to see that. Yeah, I didn't wear it. So I
you don't want to look at your parachute the whole time.
Exactly. So I buried it deep in my bike bag, and then I got it out and called them, and I don't know, I waited 30 minutes or 40 minutes, and they had people kind of in a regional area.
Did they answer the phone? What's up, bitch?
Mm-hmm. They said, you pussy. Get on your bike and ride.
Biscuit agrees.
Yeah. So they came and picked me up. I mean, at that point, man, I'll be honest. This is Biscuit. Come here. This has been hard. Like, without going into too much detail, like I'm struggling with this outcome more than any other thing that I've done, because I was so goddamn prepared for everything, and I had everything dialed and everything planned. And I mean, you saw me ride last night. Yeah. Did I look like I was struggling? I mean, I feel strong. Yeah. I would not have been able to predict my stomach shutting down. I've never had problems eating ever.
Yeah. You're still in emotional hangover phase. So now's not the time to really be evaluating it. Get a few more rides in and just get into your routine. And boy, do I think we'll have some content for future episodes, breaking some of these things down. I've got some ideas, but this isn't the time to start going into them, because it wouldn't be beating you up by any stretch of the imagination, but I could also see where it might get taken that way. So I don't want to come across that way.
No, I'm not going to take anything.
Well, I want to say, I know it was a difficult decision, and I know it comes with a lot of turmoil, but I'm proud of you for making the right decision.
No, I'm sitting here even when I made the decision and when I'm sitting here now, I don't regret that decision. I'm not sitting here going, man, I wished I hadn't. I made the right decision, but it was painful and shocking. And I'm sitting there looking at that's when I started looking at the app, and I'm looking at people just keeping going. I'm going, I should be doing this. There's no other reason other than I can't eat. Like, what the fuck? Yeah. I don't look at me. Do I look like I
have a problem
eating? Come on.
So, and that's the big thing. And if you'd listened to my podcast last week,
you did. No, you touched on it. It was it's serendipitously. They align.
All this stuff is what you learn from.
Mm-hmm.
And it points you in the right direction going forward.
Yeah.
So even when things don't go our ideal way, it's still hugely beneficial because you know a better way to do it next time,
yeah.
or you know what needs some adjustment.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, nutrition's a big deal when you start getting into these massive efforts like this, and it's probably one of the most complex things, one of the most individualized things.
Yeah.
And that's I beat that dead horse constantly.
I feel like we've talked about it numerous times.
So people that go, oh, this is the thing that fixes it for everyone. No, everybody's different,
and their differences are not consistent either.
Exactly,
right.
Exactly. So, how many total miles did you end up with?
170.
170.
Yeah.
Because when I looked at the tracker early Saturday morning, and it had shown you as withdrawn, but it was at mile 115 or something like that.
I
understand.
Yeah.
And then I texted you. You need anything? And you said a couple of IV bags.
Yeah. So they
walk me through this.
The guy picked me up. He had another guy in the car, and they drove us back to Emporia, and it's almost like an Uber service. I said, hey, where are you going to drop us off? Because truthfully, I did not want them dropping me off by the finish line.
Understandable.
I did not want to look at it. As a matter of fact, I never went back down there.
Understandable.
That would have been insult to injury. He goes, I can drop you off wherever you need to go. And at that point, I'm texting Kay. She's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, I am okay. I am safe. I'm not in duress. Like, because she's still having flashbacks for finding me in a ditch.
And not in a good way.
Not in a good way. So the guy drops me off.
You've spent more time in ditches than anybody I know.
Well, it's not because you put me there.
No, that's true. But you have a lot of stories.
I do have a lot. I have some experience.
Some ditch talk.
Yeah, I've been in the ditch before, multiple times. So they dropped me off right there at the southern end of the campus at Emporia State. And right before we pulled up, she said, are you dehydrated? I'm like, maybe. Of course I'm a little dehydrated. Like, yeah, I did the pinch test on my hand, and it didn't look good. So they dropped me off. I got on my bike, typed in on my Garmin, hospital. There's a hospital 2 miles down the road. So I rode into the ER and walked in and said, hey, I need an IV bag. And they're like, okay. I mean, I think they were expecting.
Yeah.
Turns out there was a guy there that was getting his collarbone reset. Ooh. There was another guy there that looked like he was coming out when I was going in, and it looked like he had, what is that? Is that 4 inches? 4 inches of stitches underneath his jawline.
10 inches in Brad world.
That's Brad, 10 Brad inches.
Brad goes by a dozen.
He goes by centimeters anyway. So yeah, I went in and they gave me 2 bags that they came in after the second bag and they go, how do you feel? I said, I feel fine. I feel great. I'm a little tired, but I feel great. And I said, they said, do you need anything? And this is oh my God, this is so frustrating. I was like, yeah, you have any juice? And she goes, yeah, you want some orange juice? Like, I would love orange juice. She goes, how about graham crackers? And she's starting to speak my language now because I will annihilate. She brings me 3 pints, individual pints of orange juice, and 3 packets of graham crackers, and I annihilate them like that. Suddenly I can eat again.
That's like a $300 meal in the emergency
Sounds like you were
room.
dehydrated.
And so I got done, hopped on my bike, rode it right back to the dorm, stopped at CVS on my way, and bought one of those Odwalla green machines to hammer those down, and then a couple, finding things that I can start putting good food back in my body. And I mean, I went back to the dorm completely defeated and hungry, and that pissed me off too,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I went back and I took a shower and I just ate everything I had. Not everything, but like I was just eating all the stuff that I had in my food box that I'd brought. So, yeah, I will like kind of, you touched on this on last week's episode about, you know, when you get in a situation, just be smart about it. And I made the right choice. I don't regret it. I got ahead of it before it got too bad. I still had a fantastic time. That was a fun ride. I wish it had been longer. I mean, I shouldn't hang my head on 170 miles, but I am, because I didn't even make it to 200. Like, I would have felt a little better if I'd made 201. You know, I would have felt a little better about it. Maybe, I don't know.
I mean, 175 would have been halfway, but whatever.
I know. Okay, so
but the miles he did pedaling to the emergency room and
I'm
the CVS.
Yeah. Notice I did run my Strava on that.
Oh, did you?
Hell yeah.
I haven't looked at your Strava yet.
I thought if anything that's going to make me look like a badass is riding to and from the hospital.
Now, again, what I am going to say, I mean, the positive takeaways from weekends like this are always what you learn from it.
Yeah.
Positives and negatives. I mean, 170 miles is probably a pretty good litmus test for how the bike worked for you, for example.
Incredible.
Okay.
No, everything I had done to that bike was the right decision. Descending on some of those chunkier sections, with the exception of getting late at night and the fog rolling in, that did slow. I think, of course, the fog is going to slow down everybody. But I could tell it was slowing me down a little bit because I was kind of having to lightly do a little braking because I mean, there were sections where it was 20, 30 feet in front of me. I couldn't see past the fog. But other than that, those control grips from Redshift, and I know that they hooked us up on that. But even if I bought them, those are not coming off my bike. I had started to have a little bit of hand issue leading up to the event, just from the amount of riding and, you know, starting to get a little numbness. But those bottom control grips on the drops, like, that's a no-brainer. And I saw, once I had them on my bike and had been used to using them, I saw a lot of people out there with them. I mean, I wasn't the only one with them, but if you're going to do a long ride, whether you're on a fast gravel bike or not, like, I think it's highly recommended to anybody. I mean, I had no hand issues, and there were times where I wasn't even gripping the drops. There's enough surface area that you can just kind of place your hands. Is that my laptop running loud? Or Brad's?
One of them's running loud.
Somebody's spinning up. Anyway, highly recommend. I wasn't able to get the riser bar on. It's going on soon. Turns out I didn't have the aero. I have three sets of aero bars, and they didn't fit correctly. I did see that Redshift actually offers shims specifically for that diameter. Unfortunately, they didn't. By the time I found them, by the time that I got them shipped, just didn't arrive in time enough for me to
get everything dialed in.
I was a little concerned about putting aero bars with shims.
You got a really good test of the control grips.
Yes,
and that's good. And now you'll be so, like, if you'd have done the riser bar and the grips and something hadn't worked out, you might have run into, well, which one is it, or is it both?
Yep.
Now you know the grips work really well for you.
Yep.
So now you can try the riser bar, and if that's not right, then you know it's the bar, not the grips.
Yep.
Make sense?
Sure. Yeah.
So that's also goes back to what I was talking about. You know, change one thing at a time, not everything all at the same time.
Yep.
One thing I'm curious about, because we talked about it a good bit on your build. So obviously, if you made it all the way through the night, or you?
No. When they picked me up, the sun was up. I rode all through the night.
So you did a full night with the lights and your light setup. Everything good there?
Yeah, I used my headlamp. I have that exposure torch. I think it's called a torch. Mm-hmm. Turned it on only when I needed it. Now, here's a funny story about that. I was riding alongside a guy from, where was this guy from? Was he from Belgium as well? Yeah, maybe he was. Different guy from Belgium. So we were riding along, and
I think Kansas was half European last week.
Yeah. Oh man.
I saw in the Lifetime coverage they said they had participants from all 50 states, and from, like, I think they said 18 or 20 countries.
I think they said 40.
Oh, 40 countries. Wow. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's impressive. Congrats on that. I mean, that's pretty cool. We're riding along, and it's pitch black. and we're going just through those sawtooth. It's just up and down hills. You pedal, and then you coast, and then you just barely pedal. There were some sections where maintaining momentum was so fun if you could time it just right.
Yeah.
You know, because you would pedal
exactly
at the 3/4 at the top of that hill.
That's some of the best riding
you would pedal with very little torque, and it would just coast you over the top. And I also set myself a very strict rule of that if I'm coasting faster than 16, 17 miles an hour, I'm not pedaling.
Yeah.
Not going to do it.
Yeah.
That worked out really well.
Caleb's efficiency tip of the day.
Yeah. Bum, bum, bum. So we're riding along, and I'm only using my dynamo powered light, and there's a guy next to me to my left, and we're kind of pedaling along at a, endurance pace. And I start hearing this rustling and rattling in the grass. And I thought, you hear it and it goes out of your mind, and you shoot off a squirrel or a rabbit or something, but it get louder, and it got louder, and I turn and look, and it's pitch dark. I don't see anything, and it's louder. And I'm like, holy shit, what's chasing us? My thought was we had seen a couple of deer cross over, and I thought, holy shit, I better peel back in case it's a mama deer or a baby deer trying to get across, and they haven't.
Yeah.
So I peeled back, but when I peeled back, it got even louder. And I yelled at that guy. I was like, what the fuck is that? And he goes, I don't know. I hear it too. So I turned my lamp over on my headlamp, and I turn and look, and it's a herd of cows.
Oh.
And we had scared the shit out of those cows, and they were running along the fence line. Now, if you don't see 35 cows running at once, you certainly fucking hear it.
Yeah.
And we laughed.
Make some noise.
Man, we laughed. I mean, that was
that's good stuff.
that was starting to get to where I'm like, that was one of the few moments when I was, having the food issue that I'm still out here riding my bike and having fun, and this is a fun time. But that was fun. Like I don't know, other than being chased by a dog, I don't know if I've ever actually, my lizard brain set off that strong, and I was fight or flight.
And
it was just fucking cows.
Quick Kevin tip of the day if you see a deer cross in front of you, whether you're driving or riding or whatever,
odds are there's another one.
There's a second one coming.
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
There's a second one coming. So don't think you're in the clear because you saw one. There's probably another one right behind it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Especially if the first one's female.
Met a lot of cool people. I mean, one thing, and I've mentioned this to Brad, and I can't remember who else I don't know who I talked about this, but I rode half the course, roughly. Not near as gnarly and chunky as they make it out to be. And I think they talk to roadies. I'm convinced that their marketing and is marketed to roadies because it was not super chunky. It was not super gnarly.
Again, the Euros would disagree with you, but
yeah.
So I think we've touched on it before. I mean, I've been saying since 2010, a proper gravel setup is 2-inch tires.
Yep.
And that's really something that's just come on in the past couple years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people were, pish-poshing the idea of doing 45s just a few years ago.
Yeah.
And as soon as I got to 45s and they saw the benefit there, now everyone's going to 50s and 53s. Yeah. Prior to getting up to that 2-inch tire, that's chunky gravel. If you're on 38s, that's chunky as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is. But even if myself or some of the people that we ride with on a regular were on 45s or 43s, it was manageable.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't no brake down some of the descents that they were a little too chunky, but I saw people braking way more than what I thought they should be.
I mean, there's no doubt that yes, the roadie perspective, when Dirty Kanza came on strong, it was mountain bikers that were endurance mountain bikers that were mostly in that crowd, but now 80% of the crowd at Dirty Kanza is coming from a road background, not a mountain bike background.
Well, yeah, I mean the world champ gravel racer.
I was just about to go there.
Matij Mahorik. I'm saying his name wrong, I promise. But the Bahrain rider, he had 2 teammates there. None of those 3 finished.
If y'all listen to that Bonk Bros last week, they talked about Dylan said the Euros are going to flat, they're going to quit.
Yeah,
yeah, he called it for sure. He did.
But I mean, and basically they got there and they're like, this gravel's different. I mean, because the UCI level, they race on champagne gravel. They call it gravel. It's
not
more
even
like
gravel.
a road race.
It's our hard pack with nothing on top of
Yeah.
it.
Well, of the 170 miles that I did, I would say 75% of it was champagne gravel.
Yeah.
It was the primo.
And it's all based on weather conditions and county maintenance and
Only one mud spot.
Yeah.
I come rolling through and I get to this little bottom and it's wet and I think I think I can ride through it. It looks rocky, and then you can tell, you can see the deep ruts that are in it. And I got off, and by the time I got off, I stood off with one foot and I could feel the mud rolling into the side of my shoe, like it was actually flowing in. That was the only mud spot. Other than that, it was just there was that.
But yeah,
that tackiness where you're sticking to it and you can hear it kind of fluttering around.
That UCI world champ. I mean, he said it just like that. It's like, this is different gravel. This is not what we were expecting. He
said we're going to stick to road racing. That's literally what he said.
He literally said that. And I think I've been trying to say that for a while. It's like, USA gravel is not the same as the international gravel. Now we'll talk about my tinfoil hat conspiracy theories another time. But yeah, he literally said, I'm going back to road. Yeah. But he double flat and broke a wheel.
Yep, 2 punctures and broken rear rim. He said the gravel here is much more loose and slower. He said, we ordered bigger tires already. It was not
shit.
Well,
and then on that.
The women's winner, Rosa, whatever her name, Rosa Schlecht or something. Yeah. I mean, she rode, they said 30 kilometers on the liner with a flat.
Yeah. I watched on the coverage when she was with the lead pack.
I saw that blurb on there. I didn't realize, when they were showing that, I was like, well, she's done. Yeah, we'll talk about the women's race too. I've got some hot sports opinions on that one. But she ended up winning it, and I thought it was like, maybe she's rolling it for 5K. She rolled that flat tire on the liner for 30 kilometers.
Yeah.
Wow. That's cool.
And ends up winning the damn race.
And it was on the front, which makes it even sketchier, you know? I mean, especially on gravel.
And she's pulling the group with a flat tire.
From what I read, she's not even like a sponsored pro. She's like a PhD student.
Yeah. She's only been riding gravel for 2.5 years.
I love it. One last thing. I don't want to come across as being a sore loser. I do want to say props to Justin Carey for finishing. I mean, he did. He went out there. He and I both went out there trying to do the same thing, and he did it. I don't want to ignore that. As stinging as it is, I'm happy for him, and I'm glad he was able to get it done.
And you get to shave his legs now.
Do I? I get to shave his legs?
Yeah, there is that.
What the fuck are you talking about?
You're the one that made that bet.
What did I say?
We can pull up the clip.
Yeah,
do we need to have a replay? Did I say if he wins, I'll shave his legs? That was only on the condition that he finished before I finished. He finished before I finished.
Oh, you finished before.
I suddenly remember that.
He did finish before you finished.
I suddenly remember that.
No, he finished before time-wise.
Yeah, but I didn't technically finish, so that was outside of what the brochure stated in the disclaimer.
All right, I'm gonna give the quick rundown for everybody that's listening how Justin did, and if it's okay with you guys, I'm going to invite him to join us to get his.
Absolutely.
I definitely want to hear it as soon as possible while it's still fresh on his brain.
Yeah.
Roughly 43rd is if 43rd out of what you said was 200 entries. Let's say 150 actually rolled out.
Yeah.
The attrition rate was probably at least 30%.
Top third of the field of starters, top quarter of the field signed up. That's pretty impressive. Really, if ands or buts about it. 27 and a half hours.
Yeah.
Beat the sun by pretty.
Oh, substantially.
Yeah, significant margin there. And did you watch his video? I thought
not yet. I saw it posted. He sent it to me. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
He's got a video recap of his ride. It's pretty damn good, pretty damn interesting. And I will put the link in the show notes. And yes, he did the classic Justin thing of going out with the lead group for the first 10 minutes and blowing himself up in the first 10 minutes.
Oh, he did do that?
Justin. Justin.
But then he just goes into his groove the rest of the ride.
The winner, his average speed was over 17 miles an hour.
That's insanity.
So, Justin, good job, my friend.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, seriously.
You're my hero.
Yeah, I was.
Caleb is too, but Justin just a touch more at the moment.
Half a hero. So yeah, doesn't always turn out the way you want it to. And
Let's talk about the 200.
Let's talk about it.
First of all, both of you guys watched the Lifetime recap.
I have not watched it yet.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
There's no spoilers. You already know all the outcomes.
It's pretty good.
But the coverage was amazing, and this was the first time that I don't know that I watched the Unbound coverage last year, but
It's fantastic.
I would argue that it couldn't have been as good as it was.
Did they
this
split
year.
it into men's and women's
Yes.
like they did last year? Good.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Not like
Last year they did.
Last year, the men and women went off together, didn't they?
Oh,
no,
you-
but
you
they
mean the
had two
star.
different episodes. They had a
No.
no.
It's in one episode
No,
now?
they're just alternating segment
Okay,
to segment.
okay.
They went back and forth.
And the 350s in the mix a little bit too.
Yeah.
The XL, I should say.
This was the first time that I've seen like real road tactics employed in this race.
From a single individual rider or a team tactic?
There wasn't any team tactics, but there was definitely a couple
There
of
was
packs that were working together.
Group I wouldn't
Yeah.
call it team tactics. There were group
tactics.
definitely group tactics.
Yeah, like Lachlan Morton went off with the guy Haga. I can't remember his name.
It was actually our Texas Twister winner Jonas Orset that took off with the other Norwegians and off the front for the first 115 miles or so, maybe even more than that. Mm-hmm. And they had a breakaway group, and that was pretty cool. So
it was wild. They did a great job of coverage, but the race itself was...
Lachlan and Chad Haga ended up taking off the front the second half of the race and leaving everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't... it was a 3-minute gap, but it never got closed up on those two. They worked together.
Yeah, they worked together really well.
Perfectly well. And that was so that second group was working together pretty well, it looked like, but there was just enough of that. We're not confident in each other, taking care of each other. They never reeled in Lachlan.
Yeah,
and Chad.
if they would have solidified, they could have reeled him in, and it would have been a different outcome. But you also would have had different people on the podium than you did.
Oh yeah, it would have been a sprint.
Yeah, it was still a sprint finish. A bunch sprint finish for
the second group.
Yeah, for the second group.
Second and third group, I guess.
But I didn't realize that Lachlan Morton took a wrong turn.
I heard that last night after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
And
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so I want to get more detail on that one. It was fairly early in, right?
Yeah, he said, what did it say? So his finish time, first of all, this is the fastest finish in Unbound ever. 9 hours, 11 minutes, and 47 seconds.
On a course that was supposed to be chunkier, gnarlier, looser, all of the worst things.
It's supposed to be tougher than... But obviously not the mud section this year. And
there was not. Yeah, there was mud.
It's so relative.
And it wasn't super hot, so it wasn't like those guys were.
And I'm not dismissing it. I am not knocking the record.
Yeah.
At all. It's just it's not as cut and dried. That's a huge shift versus what it may have been a year or two ago.
Well, I was telling Caleb when we were there in 2011, I think that was the first year. I think it was Dan Hughes actually that went sub 12 hours.
Sounds right.
And it was the first time anybody had gone sub 12 hours, if I recall correctly. And that was a big deal. And now you have guys doing it almost in 9 hours.
Almost 9 hours.
It's insane.
And that guy is nice. And I like him. And his content is incredible. And I've said this over again. I sound like a zealot, as Kevin likes to use the Z word. If you've never watched the Thereabouts or Outskirts movies, you need to watch them. They're so good.
I don't even know what those are.
With Dan Hughes?
No, with
Lachlan
Morton.
When Lachlan kind of semi-retired or was fed up with road racing, this was back in like 2015 or 16, he and his brother, Gus, who was also a former-ish pro, just made a 45-minute documentary of them riding from one end of Australia to like Ayers Rock or something. And this was very, very early in the content creation around gravel.
Yeah.
And it's just there's no...
What's it called again?
At that point, it was called Thereabouts.
Okay.
And there are 2 or 3 episodes called Thereabouts. By the second or third version, I think Rafa bought the rights, and they changed it from Thereabouts to Outskirts.
Okay.
Now, the second Thereabouts, they ride from...
Where's this hosted?
Boulder to Moab, all over the place because of rights. There's a rights issue. So if you go to Vimeo, I think you can watch the second one for free. You can buy the first one. The third and fourth, I think, are on Rafa's YouTube page. But Gus has been the primary content creator and director around that. But like the second episode, they ride from Boulder to Moab.
I'm sorry, Gus is the brother?
Mortensen, yeah.
Okay.
Or Morton, not Mortensen. They do one from Boulder to Moab. They do one across route.
Gus, you want to be a guest? This sounds like a fascinating conversation here.
Yeah, it's really cool. And
I just noticed this.
What are you pointing at? I can't see.
He's probably got a bottle.
You think that's a bottle?
Yes. That's
Yeah.
a
pretty normal thing
bottle
now.
in the front of the jersey. That's an aero efficiency thing.
Yeah. I mean, I realized that after listening to Dylan, but I didn't notice that real time when I was watching.
Yeah. So going along those lines, it's bottles in the front, and the in-zone hydration packs and 2-inch tires were a big deal.
Yeah.
In that front 20.
Oh, yeah.
This year.
I think if you're an elite racer, you can put up with that shit, but I can't imagine going and having that. The benefit of having a hydration bladder in a backpack is that there's something between you and your skin and that bladder sloshing around, but to have it sloshing around next to your skin on a jersey just seems like you're going to be able to feel that. Actually feel it moving around, and that would drive me insane.
It's like a massage.
Oh, yeah, you wished. Anyway, watch the Outskirts stuff. Look
Okay.
it up, find it. It's if you get to a point where you have to purchase one, purchase it. It's worth it. They are very, very good. I love them. I'm bleeding.
What'd you do?
I don't know.
Scratched his shelf.
Yeah, I'm good.
So what else? What else piqued your interest from that 200-miler, Brad?
Man, just watching the way everything unfolded and the way that second group, once it was clear that Lachlan and Haga were going to kind of be left alone, just the tactics that were employed by that second group and how they would like gradually crank it up just to see who was going to drop off, and then they would hold it right there, and you would see guys just pop off the back, and then the grouped bunched sprint at the end was just pretty freaking cool to watch. And then also the sprint finish that went down between Morton and Haga was, I mean, about as classic as it comes.
That was a classic marked finish there. That was. I hate to admit it, but that was actually fun to watch. And I liked it from the 2-person duel aspect.
Yes.
I'll be honest with you. I'm not a fan of particularly a 200-mile gravel race finishing in a group sprint finish.
Right.
Because that tells me that the group wasn't laying it out on the course.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
Yeah.
As a promoter, that's the way I look at that. When you have
20 people that come in
10,
together.
20 people as a lead group setting up for a sprint finish, it's like, fuck it, y'all were soft pedaling way too much.
Somebody left way too much on the course. Yeah. Sandbagging sons of bitches. It was really cool though.
And yes, I'm saying that as a very fat, slow rider.
But the way that Morton timed his attack, because it at some point it becomes inevitable that they're not going to roll in side by side and share the finish, and so it becomes this
chess game.
Yeah, it's a chess game. And so it was pretty awesome to see him like measure and go, okay, I'm going to go for the attack here, knowing that it wasn't going to stick and that Haga was going to counter, and he was going to have to save enough in his tank to counter that counter and make it stick. And it was freaking just about as perfect as it could be.
Somewhere along the way, I had a coach that gave me the analogy. We always talk about burning matches.
Mm-hmm.
And there's more to the analogy of just going through limited efforts. Part of the burning matches is it's true. In an effort, in an event, you've got about 20 match burns in you. And you can light one and recover, light one and recover. You can light 3 in a row and recover longer. But you got about 20 strikes in you throughout the course of an event. And each of those strikes lasts about, if you lit a match, that's about how long it's good for. So 30 seconds, 20, 30 seconds, something like that. And that's where it gets really interesting in those last mark and measure chess matches like that, is because they're like, does he have 2 matches left or does he have 3 matches left? And that's 6 shots, right?
Yeah.
So that was a very, very cool finish, and I really like seeing Lachlan win it. To be honest with you, I thought that was a fantastic podium.
This was his 4th attempt, and he's finished close, and I think he's been in the top 10 a couple times. He's been in the top 15, and for him to finally win it, I'm a fan.
Speaking of top 10.
Yes. Yeah, I mean.
Our boy Dylan.
Dylan, good job, bro.
Friend of the podcast, like squeaking in that 10th place.
Hey, I mean, I think I'm not taking all the credit. You guys had something to do with it here. But
we were there, that's all that matters.
Between ShiftLess and Spinistry, here's a heads up. Anybody that wants to be competitive in these things, come rub my Buddha belly. Hey, Dylan got his best finish ever. He's really happy with it. Top 10 in.
Hey, and don't forget, do you know where he sits in the overall?
7th.
Seventh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, fantastic.
And Lauren Stevens won the 100 miler.
Yeah.
And Justin kicking ass. So hey, but yeah, Dylan top 10 in not a slip in the back door because somebody had a last second flat or made a wrong turn on the. No, that was part of that bunch sprint finish in that big group. That was through the first 12 or 13, and he ended up 10th in that.
There were 3 felt breeds in the top 10.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure you can go, there's probably 4 specialized or whatever, but all those other bikes look the same.
Yeah.
They're the same bikes.
Yeah.
Just different logo on them.
Well, I mean, Chad was on a felt breed, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Second place was felt breed. 10th place was definitely felt breed.
Yeah.
Even Jonas still ended up. That's another one. Come rub my Buddha belly. Jonas was really happy with his finish. He ended up 22nd. He's been one of those classic Euros that got flats and bailed out over the years that Dylan was making fun of on his show. But he was on the felt breed with big tires. So that, there's a lot to be said there. So very cool stuff.
I happened to notice too, even after all the number plate discussion, a lot of the guys that were in the top 10 had tucked number plates.
Oh yeah, I think they allowed them. I think they allowed the elites. The elites kind of pushed back on it and said, "Yeah, well, watch me. We're going to do it anyway." And they ended up getting their way on that. If you were in the 200, if you were in the non-elite, you still had to display it. So, hey, because Kevin, I can't remember. I think it was you and I that had a slightly different opinion on this. We did get an email. We got someone reached out and touched us about live TV coverage.
Yep.
The possibility. Our buddy Rich had emailed us and said, when is it finally going to happen? And my prediction was, because they don't pay out people. This is the only race in the Grand Prix where there's no payout. Surely they're getting to the point financially where they can do more of a live stream other than Instagram live clips, right? They've got a helicopter out there.
Yeah.
They've got the moto team that was riding the
Can-Ams and shit.
Or even the enduro style touring bikes that I don't know about motorcycles.
The Africa bikes.
Yes. So those guys were all staying in the dorms. So they had all had their motorcycles parked in a section, and it was really interesting. Friday morning when I was coming from my dorm room to go down to eat breakfast, they were in a corner in kind of the commons area of the dorm, and they had this big map, and they all had their motorcycle gear on, and they were charting and planning out who was doing what. And those guys I think they're carrying photographers and videographers and stuff. So anyway,
much like the Tour de France.
To me, I see it as being
they're ramping
inevitable
up.
that there's going to be. I'm not saying it's going to be streamed on HBO Max or anything.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be on YouTube or something like that.
Yeah.
You had a different opinion on that. You don't think that that's inevitable.
I think it's inevitable that that's going to happen to the event.
I think it would be cheaper for them to live stream it than it would be to put all that stuff together and edit it and put it out.
I think they'll still do that.
After.
I still think they're going to do that.
Yeah.
The recap videos. The recap videos will live on past the live event.
They tried to live stream last year.
Yeah.
The technology's just not there.
I mean, that's a long live stream though. 9 hours is a long live stream,
and it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
You got to keep that in mind.
That's what I was just saying.
Even
and
though
it's
Starlink's in existence and everything, basically what it's going to take is multiple helicopters.
Yeah.
That's the nuts and the bolts of it, and that's where and I'm not knocking Lifetime. I think they're putting together a fantastic show here.
Yeah, and can we just address the fact that they dropped that video Monday?
It's ridiculous.
Monday.
But they set the precedent with Sea Otter.
Yeah.
It's like they had no choice.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic content.
They're putting
people are literally bitching that there's no live coverage. And so here's where the disconnect is on that. Is when you get live coverage from massive events like that, it's not the sponsors that are doing the live coverage. It's the broadcast networks, the broadcasters that are doing that.
Yeah.
Even the biggest gravel event in the world is still no Tour de France. All right?
That's true.
You're not going to get NBC or TNT or whoever there is over across the pond that does that stuff to come broadcast Unbound Gravel live to maybe 250,000 people around the world. Maybe. I think that's probably a stretch.
That's a very, very valid point.
I think the only people that want to watch it are us.
Yeah. I mean, I think it would take the right sponsor. I mean, like if Rafa jumped in.
Lifetime's bigger than Rafa.
Well, no, but I think they would have to have an outside sponsor just to sponsor the live feed aspect.
Yeah.
All right.
Y'all
are going to make me put on my tinfoil conspiracy hat here.
Go for it.
This is just a wild ass guess. There's there's nothing I've heard that indicates. But here's what I think is in the works. I think UCI, Lifetime, USA Cycling, and the Fairley Group are all working together in the background.
What's the Fairley Group?
They're the ones that put on that Valley of Tears
Okay.
event. But they're also the insurance providers for USA Cycling for decades.
Okay.
I think, and probably the Walton clan is in the mix as well, as my guess. So Rafa indirectly.
Yeah.
Rafa indirectly.
Yeah.
My guess is that they're all coordinating in the background to make this international professional gravel thing come about, where all those entities are working together to come up with this live feed.
Yeah.
But who gets credit for what or how it's organized or whatever else,
Yeah.
to be determined. I think where it'll end up where probably Lifetime's still doing the financial commitment they're doing now, but they're a title sponsor or primary sponsor or something like that.
Yeah.
But these other organizations and entities are doing the race director logistics aspect of things.
But I think ultimately, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're basically just saying there's not enough money for there to be a live stream. I mean, there's not going to be enough interest from a financial standpoint.
Not in a traditional manner.
I mean,
so
gravel racing's never going to be F1.
They need the worldwide audience to
Yeah.
even start to approach that,
Right.
and that's still borderline there in my estimation. But what do I know?
But
I'm hanging out at Caleb's kitchen table.
But it's niche. It's niche on niche again.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's definitely where we're at.
There's all, because going back to what you mentioned, there is an added cost from the technology standpoint. If this race took center around the DFW area, it would be a lot easier to have.
If it were taking place on the Trinity River levees in Dallas, it would actually be technically feasible.
Right, because of the ability to live, just the cell coverage and internet coverage there. That would be to make that happen in the Emporia area.
Over 200 miles of the Flint Hills.
On top of the cost to live stream it, would be the cost to make it have the ability to live stream it by having...
How much more money would it be to live stream it? I mean, you're already renting a helicopter.
Because you have to find a way to have a cell signal.
Yeah.
Or a internet or a satellite connection to beam the signgle somewhere.
Doesn't sound crazy expensive compared to running a helicopter for 9 hours.
You're still going to have the helicopter. You're going to have multiple helicopters.
You'd have to run actual satellite feeds, which that is not cheap to run.
Yeah.
And we're back. And we're also back to the Rome. And keep in mind how the Tour de France is covered.
Just tell me Phil Liggett's not going to be involved.
Hey, Phil Liggett.
He's dancing on the pedals.
It's okay. So this is a somewhat negative takeaway from the coverage that they did have this weekend. I get it. I understand it completely. I respect it is a necessity. But from a promoter standpoint, I always do everything I possibly can to keep as little motorized traffic mixed in with the participants as possible. Even if it's an official vehicle, even if it's somebody we trust with their motorcycle capabilities or whatever. If you get that live coverage, you're going to have that many more vehicles on course that are mixed up with the participants. Yes, worst case scenario is somebody gets tremendously. I'm just saying it could affect the event. It could affect.
We've seen it numerous times in the Tour de France.
That's what I'm saying, and that's on pavement.
Yeah.
So you throw the just the group riding aspect of trying to do it on gravel. That women's group that finished in a 9-up sprint.
Yeah.
If that would have been a road race, that would have been a 20 or 30-up sprint.
Yeah.
The men's second group that was 8 people.
Yeah.
That would have been 20 or 30 people as well.
And I saw a couple of spots where the motorcycles, I saw a couple of guys drafting off the motorcycles on the gravel sections, even in that short video. I mean, not short, but relatively. So that becomes an aspect too. Like how do you get in between the breaks and not intervene?
That's the point. You can't not be in the way. And that's a concern of mine. Not that it's going to affect any of my events in the next 20 years by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
But it would be something that if things started going to that level, I think it's something to be super cognizant of. But man, so one of the personal things that goes around in my head about, we're going back to the European gravel, the UCI World Gravel Champion versus American gravel. In my head, I've always turned it around. It's kind of like NASCAR versus F1.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you can tell me that European gravel racing is better athletes, it's better cycling tactics, mate. I'm not gonna argue that.
It's just more road adjacent.
But you can't tell me that. I can watch F1 racing and enjoy that, but I can also watch them beating and banging on door handles NASCAR racing and enjoy that as well. They're both motor racing, but they're two completely different sports. I think USA gravel racing is different than, for the most part, the rest of the world gravel racing. And I don't think that's a bad thing by any stretch of the imagination.
I agree.
And along those lines, I thought the damn pit stops that they did.
That was crazy.
That's nuts. And it's only going to get nuttier going forward.
Those people are so fussy too.
Well, that's just red zone head.
Yeah.
That's red zone head is all that. And I mean, the one guy, there was one clip, somebody, where's my fucking bag or whatever.
And I was like, what a prima donna.
But as he's leaving, love you guys.
Yeah.
So, and he recognized, and I'm used to that too.
Yeah.
Trust me. You know, is Kevin going to put up with a prima donna racer in the middle of the race? No, he's not. But, you know, everybody hugs it out at the end and everybody's good. So that part, I'm not going to begrudge him that. That's red zone head.
Yeah.
That when you're operating at those levels, your head's not working right. It's that simple.
Yeah, you're all gas, no brakes. I get it. I like that I can see you typing in real time. That's
you like
cool.
that technology?
That's cool.
You asked about the kid or the people on the greenbelt. So quick recap. we've talked about the rain. We've talked about the flooding. The first report was cyclists.
Yeah. Okay.
2 cyclists were in need of rescue on the Denton Greenbelt. So the Denton Record Chronicle is reporting it was 2 15-year-olds. They are safe. They crossed the barrier. You know, they have the barriers to not go onto the.
Yeah, that was going to be my question.
On the southern portion of the Greenbelt?
They were on, from this photo, from what I can tell from this photo, this is at the 428,
and they went
terminal,
south?
And they went south.
Okay.
And you can see here, like, the path is underwater. So anyway, for those you don't know, in Denton, we have a really nice green belt that runs between 2 lakes along the Elm Fork of the Trinity.
Elm Fork of the Trinity
and it
River.
is notorious for flooding, especially the southern section of it. And some kids went down and rode their bikes and got caught.
We were seeing headlines or police reports of 2 cyclists stranded and rescued. We knew everybody was okay.
And the issue, and then this has been going on from, there's a fly fishing guide that I'm friends with and follow, who's been trying to organize help to get that log jam cleared up that's causing all the flooding on the lower end.
Dynamite.
And they had talked about dynamite. And there's just there's a stalemate between whose responsibility it is, between the Parks and Wildlife, the Army Corps of Engineers. Anyway, that's one of the issues that the firefighters were saying was so difficult to get to them, and why it took 4 hours is because it was like a 200-yard long log jam of all of the trees that have fallen over that is therefore causing the flooding.
And I know we've touched on it before, but I'm going to do it again. I'm pretty sure they did clear that log jam.
No,
that's why they opened the south end up again. They cleared the log jam, but then it re-jammed.
Okay.
And that's what Corps of Engineers was saying the whole time. It's what TxDOT was saying the whole time. It's like we can clear this log jam now, but the next time it floods, there's just going to be another log jam, and that's exactly what's happening, because it's all just floodplain, and there's so much deadfall that it all funnels into that same spot.
Yep.
And so you can clear it now, but it costs a couple $1 million to clear it, and 6 months from now it's going to be log jammed again, and that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah. Can't stop a good jam, can you?
Get your jam on.
One interesting thing about the expo.
So what were they doing, though?
What's that?
What were they doing on the Greenbelt?
Riding their bikes.
Oh, they were riding their bikes?
Yeah.
And then they got...
I think they probably were playing in the water and got swept away. My thought is one of them gets swept away, the other one tries to go help him, and he gets...
Yeah.
Anyway, they're home safe, which is good.
Cool.
Interesting thing about the bike expo that I noticed. I know this was not a bike packing event.
What bike? There was a bike expo
at Unbound.
Okay.
Massive.
Okay.
I only saw really 2 bike bag companies there. There was Pro, which is part of Shimano, but they're definitely centered more around the racing end.
Yeah.
And then there was Moose Packs, and that's it. Like, I was surprised that
Revelate wasn't there?
Revelate was not there.
Huh.
Which was very surprising. I mean,
Revelate's not race oriented either.
But they're not race oriented. But I saw tons of Revelate bags on bikes,
particularly on the XL. There's a lot of Revelate bags on the bikes, but even in the 200, there's going to be a lot of Revelate stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've seen some posts from other. I'm not going to go into specifics, but I was surprised such and such wasn't there, going into bike brands, and it's a couple things. We're still in
a recession.
The bike industry.
Yeah, it worried me. I was concerned that maybe they don't have the money to do it.
In a shithole at the moment. But you also get into a thing, and again, I'm putting on my promoter's hat here, where things can get crossed up in an event that, let's say there's a sponsor involved. I'm not saying this is the case, but let's say there's a bike brand sponsor that's involved, and other bike brands want to be at the expo, but this major sponsor that's throwing $100,000 into the will say, no, I don't want to have other bikes at the expo.
Yeah.
You can run into some of that stuff as more sponsors get involved.
Speaking of which, was the Salsa Chase Lounge present?
No, Salsa was not there.
Really? That sends a message without sending a message.
Yep.
Maybe.
There weren't a lot of there were the normal bike brands, the big three, big four, but it just wasn't as many as I thought there would expected.
Well,
a lot of small companies, a lot of small single one-off. Pineberry was there. Talked to that guy again. Bought some more of his product. He was able to make it. It seemed like there were more small groups. I mean, there were a lot of large groups. Like I don't want to make that. I mean, Kuat was there, and
I'll be honest with you. What you're sketching out here does kind of align with, for lack of a better term, no competes from sponsors. If there's a component maker or whatever else, it's they're not going to be worried about somebody making Hawaiian style bike riding shirts or something like that.
Yeah.
That first blush, first impression. I don't know that that's the case.
Speaking of Bike Expo, what was some of the coolest tech that you saw firsthand? Because I saw some stuff that I don't know if you saw it in person, but I was wondering what you saw that was really cool.
I did not investigate every booth.
Sure.
I walked around to the things that I'm interested in or that caught my eye. I didn't see a lot of new tech. Not saying it's not there.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I didn't go in and look at a lot of stuff.
Shout out to POC real quick.
Yeah.
Tell us about POC.
POC's does not have a tent. They have a trailer that folds out, and it's like a little gallery on the back of a flatbed trailer or whatever.
And were they peddling goods? Or?
Oh, yeah, they had everything there.
Yeah.
Shout out to POC for winning.
Yeah. So I walked up into the little booth wearing my POC helmet and chatting up the guy, and they, we were talking or whatever. And then he kind of walks away, and then he comes back and hands me a cap. He goes, "Hey, thanks for wearing our product." And I got a free POC hat, which, hey, yeah, it's just a cap, but it's cool.
No,
there's a little
cool.
hot weather
loyalty,
loyalty, 5-panel
nice.
hat.
Very sweet.
But I got to see some of their new helmets. Surprisingly enough, one of the companies you think would have a big presence with a lot of gear is Pearl. They had a fairly small tent with not a lot of useful clothing.
Pearl Izumi.
Okay,
just making sure.
Mostly socks and gloves.
And jerseys.
Yeah.
And bibs. No shoes.
Yeah.
Not very many accessories.
Think about how many shoes you'd have to bring, though.
Yeah.
No. Oh, no. But even Shimano brings their shoes, and even though you can't buy them, they showcase what they offer.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, most of those places aren't like a lot of them you don't buy on the spot on the bigger items. I don't think they had bike racks back there for sale, but they could facilitate an order online kind of thing.
Yeah.
That was strange. Big surprise, maybe not surprising. The biggerish tents were tire manufacturers. IRC had a massive tent.
Not a
Maxxis had
it,
but they had some of the larger tents, bigger than like Trek's presence wasn't as big as any of the tire.
Yeah.
And again, we're back to the realm. I don't think there's an official tire of Unbound or Lifetime Grand Prix.
I don't think they're going to do that.
No, that's what I'm saying. So it opens up the doors for more expo participation.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
You touched on the POC and the helmet there. Obviously, Lachlan's Aero POC helmet was pretty cool. Not nearly as tacky as the one we talked about during the Dylan. Dylan. Did y'all see his video on? He finally put out the video on his bike. And he definitely threw up a picture of your Aero helmet and talking about that. But a lot of the shots of the bike were from our conversation.
Not the super bulging Giro helmet.
No, that's what.
But no. There was a guy that started XL that had an Aero helmet. Is it a Giro Aero helmet?
Oh, really?
With the glass, like the visor glass over the front.
The space helmet one, but not the super Android space helmet.
Not the one with the bulging front. But that was, I don't ever want to look at someone and laugh at their setup, but that was a little bit of a chuckle.
What would be y'all's guess on? So Dylan ended up with 10th overall. In a group finish.
Yeah.
Do you think how much of that do you think was bike position wise versus just
a lot,
just rider?
Well, I mean, he's just undeniably a strong rider, but I think even by his own admission, he utilizes technology and all of those minute
marginal
advantages.
Gains.
Yeah. If you if you took away all of those little marginal gains,
let's say he was on just an off-the-shelf felt breed.
Yeah, a regular felt breed, and not running a skin suit, not running a skin suit, not running super narrow bars,
the Lauf fork.
Yeah,
running a stock fork.
I mean, like.
There were guys, though. I think the other guy that's...
they were running the regular fork.
They were running the regular fork.
Yeah,
he was the only one.
Chad Haga was on the regular fork. And Jonas was all... Again, Jonas finished 22nd on a off-the-shelf felt breed as well. So 2nd and 22nd and 10th.
I would say easily 5, 8, 10 positions.
Okay.
Just a guess. I mean, I don't know how to equivalate.
Equivalate. I like that word.
I don't know how to
capillary.
Capillary. I don't know how to like kind of factor all that stuff in. But man, it's smart. You know?
Oh, no doubt. Do you have an opinion on that one, Caleb?
No.
Okay.
No.
I'll give you Dylan's opinion.
Okay.
If I can find it here. And it's finished position based on the way it shook out.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was in 10th, and so his response is, well, if I got multiple flats with the stock tires, we could be talking 20 positions. Assuming no mechanicals, I would guess I would be dropped by the front group earlier and give up around 5 positions.
Mm-hmm.
Puts them from 10th to 15th. Mm-hmm. But the way the gaps were for the finishers, that would have put him right there with Keegan, but ahead of Statina.
Keegan got popped.
Keegan, I want to hear Keegan's issues, more detail on that. So I'm going to go. Dylan thinks he would have got 15th. I think he would have got 17th.
Yeah. He averaged, even at 10th place, he averaged 21.86. 21.86 miles an hour.
Okay.
That's not including the 2 stops where you get off your bike, change hydration bladders, change bottles, change food.
Did you see how quick?
They're like F1 stops now.
Well,
it's impressive.
No, they're NASCAR stops now.
Yeah.
They're about to become F1 stops.
Yeah.
And so that's all right. I'm going to throw it out there right now.
Now, a lot of people don't like that.
I understand that
because that is a resource thing. You can
I think Unbound is a different environment than what other gravel events should be. And I'm predicting Dylan on the overall podium within 2 years.
Yeah, I think so too. But we see the same thing at endurance mountain bike races too, where you have the top level guys come through and somebody gives them another pack. I mean,
it's obvious that level of racing. That's a totally different event than what the mass start 200 milers are doing.
Yeah,
those are apples and oranges. Anybody that tries to mix, we're past that point.
100%.
I get it if you want to say it should be all okay. That's fine. It's not the way it is. So you got to operate in the games that you're operating in. Now the thing with Keegan, going back to, I mean, he had multiple issues from what I understand.
Did he have any mechanicals? Flats or anything?
I think there may have been a flat involved. There was some sort of mechanical that was alluded to, but he was riding a T-type with the new red levers, is my understanding. So you were asking last week about running the UDH T-type T transmission setup.
Yeah, SRAM Red had a 13-speed. It's called the Explorer, XPLR.
Yeah, Explorer, something like that.
And it's 13-speed red T-type transmission.
Yeah,
that there was quite a few high-level people on this weekend.
They go, I guess, one more bigger gear. What is that? That 13 gives you another climbing gear?
I don't know.
This one goes to 11.
11.
Apparently, this one goes to 13.
Yeah. I wanted to put something on your guys' radar that I just started listening to.
Use guys.
Hey, use guys.
There's a podcast, and it's in its infancy right now. I think there's only 6 episodes, and it's called Ghost in the Machine. And I say this at this point because we're talking about these F1 style stops. And the whole premise of this is about motor doping, about mechanical doping.
Okay.
This guy's investigating. So the only documented case was like in, I think it was cyclocross race, and it was her replacement bike that got pinned, and she had quit the race and realized that I have a backup bike, and she was headed towards her backup bike. And she was going to get her backup bike, and that's when she realized her bike wasn't there, and they said, you need to come with us, and that's how everything got relegated. But I say that, all that to say, when we start seeing F1 style changes where guys are rolling into stops and just getting a backup bike, like, not accusing anybody of doping, but that is where a lot of that gets implemented in this guy's summation, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting listen. A lot of it is speculative, and it's people that wish to not be named, and they're also not pointing fingers directly, but there's a lot of interesting conversation going on. So I just always think it's curious.
There's been a lot of that in the background, actually literally for decades.
Yeah.
There's.
It seems like it's as easy to implement as a corked bat. It's that easy.
Yeah.
It's whether or not you want to risk getting caught because
yes.
It won't take much to get caught if you overdo it. If something happens, a bike breaks or whatever, or you get off the bike and the wheel is still spinning.
Mm-hmm. There was some guy in France that was caught at a Gran Fondo motor doping a few weeks back, and he got caught because they could hear his motor whirring. Yeah.
Oh man.
But so what's more embarrassing or what's more shameful, getting popped for straight up doping or getting popped for mechanical doping?
I think they're both shameful as hell myself.
Well, no, I get that. I get that, but
I think
talking
mechanical would be worse because it's visual. Everyone can see it. You can't look at someone's blood and see it.
That's the whole thing. Is the reason they're able to get allegedly able to get away with it is because it's so
Brad and I
hidden and everything.
Brad and I talked about it before. When motor doping, it's not a class 3 e-bike that's just
you only need 50 watts.
50 watts is huge.
Yeah.
Even if it's 10 or 15 watts.
Yeah. Thinking about marginal gains, Dylan talks about.
Exactly.
But the reason I asked that, what's more shameful, is because I think at some level, and I think maybe the pro elite level, the only thing, the major limiting factor to people doping or mechanical doping is the shame of your contemporaries. Like, you don't want to be looked down by the people that you consider peers.
I think again, along the lines of traditional doping, that's a gate for the first one that gets caught. After that, it doesn't mean it's going to go away.
Right.
Then the first one gets caught, then everyone else is going, oh, well, that's how they were so strong. So that's what everyone else starts doing at that point too.
At some point, that was the thought process in the pro peloton with the Tour de France. They were like, well, everybody's doped to the gills. So if you want to be competitive, you've got to be doing it too.
That's what they were saying. And that's what they were saying in the mid 90s, but it wasn't making it out. Everyone, it was like, if you want to be a lead rider, in a World Cup team at the Tour de France, that's the only way to be competitive.
Yeah.
And it's what they all started doing at that point.
But when you look at, like, Floyd Landis famously won the Alpe d'Huez stage, and he just rode away from everybody
after being so cooked the day before.
Yeah.
Not the stage before, the day before.
Yeah. And so you go, we watched that. I watched that live time, in real life. And I was just like, at the end of that stage, all of us went, he's doping.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, how can you be so blatant about it? You don't just ride away from the entire peloton after being completely cooked, falling off your bike the day before, and not expect it to look very, like, at the least suspicious.
I think there was a heavy duty dose of red zone head going for the whole event. I think more than likely, probably when you're doing stuff like that, it affects your judgment too, and the way your head works on things.
That's crazy.
But I think ultimately it goes back to he just assumed everybody else around him was doing the same thing anyway, so he wasn't really too worried about it.
Well, and my question though is, was there mechanical doping involved, or was it just blood doping? You know,
Both.
but or both.
Yeah, again, the
just curious.
Yeah, the motor doping thing does seem to be getting a lot more chatter these days for whatever reasons. I'm not dismissing it. I'm not saying it's not happening by any stretch of the imagination. I'll be honest with you. That's one of those. I see a lot of the people that bitch about the way USA gravel works, unsanctioned gravel works. We don't have USA Cycling heavily involved. We don't have UCI heavily involved. One of the roadie complaints about our gravel racing is that there is no policing of it. Well, let's go back to the Tour de France. Even when there was policing of it supposedly going on, it didn't change anything. And actually, the arguments could be made that the policing was covering it up.
Yep.
I think in this current gravel environment, whether it's motor doping or blood doping or whatever, any kind of cheating, I think if somebody gets caught, I'm not going to say their career is done, but they're not going to have any apologists from the spectators or the other people that are in the sport on a casual basis. You're not like Lance had all of his apologists after he got caught or admitted to it. I don't think that will happen in this gravel environment. I may shoot myself in the foot here. It's kind of an apples and oranges comparison, and I don't want it to sound like I'm not going to somebody I consider a friend. But when Colin Strickland got caught up in his stuff, it obviously affected his reputation in the sport. Whether it's deserved or not, I'm not going down that path. I'm saying that was a result of it.
Yeah.
And that was not cheating in the sport. That was just personal factors.
Yeah.
If somebody like Colin or Lachlan or Dylan or anybody like that, I think at this point in this sport, as it's getting its momentum, if somebody were caught cheating like that, it would be devastating to their career. No ifs, ands.
Oh yeah. Well, they would lose every sponsor.
Yeah. Well,
done.
Just absolutely done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there would. I quite frankly think there would be more blowback in an unsanctioned environment than if it happened in a UCI environment, sort of thing. Is I guess is what I'm getting at. Don't get me wrong. UCI would, if they were caught, they would still be penalized or whatever else. But I think there's actual more.
I think Dylan's just aero doping.
That's a good name for a podcast.
Aero dope.
All right, we're getting close to
time. One other thing, and I've been meaning to mention this and talk about this because I'm super excited and I keep forgetting every single time. We're getting a new state park, and they're getting close to being done.
Is it close now?
Yes, I mean they are. If for those of you that don't know that live in the DFW area, we're getting Palo Pinto Mountains State Park. It's about 20, maybe 15 minutes east of Ranger, which would put you about 45 minutes west of Weatherford. So that's a 2-hour drive from here. Fairly large lake that will be paddleboard, non-motorized. Maybe you can bring an electric trolling motor, but there will not be bass boats. But for a lake this size, that's going to be a very large fishing lake. Hiking trails, biking trails, they are actively building mountain bike trails and have multiple phases. Their Facebook page is actually really, really active. They're constantly posting photos and updates. It looks like a beautiful area. I'm super pumped. But you guys, when you get a chance, check it out. They're posting construction photos and all kinds of cool shit. So
it's Palo Pinto what?
Palo Pinto Mountains State Park. It's not very often that you get a brand new state park.
Right.
I mean, some of our state parks are 100 years old.
Do we have a launch date yet?
It has been delayed because of the rain. So
this year,
I'm looking based on the construction. I think it's going to open it may open in the fall.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah. So
that kind of one last thing I want to throw into the mix that just kind of sort of reminded me of had a very nice piece of good news yesterday. Tie a couple things together. I mentioned Jonas Orset winning our Texas Twister, which was our test event for the ShiftLess presented Texas Chainring Massacre and Privateer Invitational Gravel event in January. That was us testing the new venue up there in Gainesville. Everything went swimmingly well there. People loved the roads. That was all good. The venue, 35 and Liberty, that we'll be hosting from, was very happy with everything. So everything's good there. And then yesterday, I reached out to the Gainesville, Cook County, Red River Valley Chamber of Commerce Tourism Board, and lo and behold, the current executive director there was Jennifer Shoemate, who it was for years my contact at Sanger Parks and Recreation. I did not realize that she had taken on this new role, and started talking with her, and she is very excited about the potential for our January event. So it looks like we're going to have lots of support from Gainesville.
Very cool.
Cook
I went up to
County
that event and rode the short route, and those roads were fantastic. That was, and the getting in and out of that venue was super easy, and so
pretty convenient
it
there.
is, yeah.
And lots of restaurants and hotels and everything. That's part of why we're shifting to Gainesville. And I will say, and we'll talk about this more in a future episode. Hopefully, I don't think I'm gonna have time this week to get up there. We are shifting the Texas Chainring Massacre from Valley View to Gainesville. And Jennifer's first concern was, hey, we don't want to be taking anything away from Valley View right now. It's like, I agree 1,000%. For those of you that don't know, Valley View's been our traditional host for the Texas Chainring Massacre, and they just had actually the day after Texas Twister, they had a major tornado go through there and wiped out a neighborhood, and actually a building we used to host the Texas Chainring Massacre from. And unfortunately, several people died. We'll be up in Valley View for our Midnight Mash in August, and we're going to do a lot to help support the community there. But I also wanted to make it clear that, yes, we're moving the Texas Chainring Massacre from Valley View to Gainesville, but what we're also doing is we're moving our holiday ramble in December from Gainesville to Valley View. We expect Texas Chainring Massacre to get up over 1,000 people with the privateer and everything else. That's outside of what Valley View can handle. But we love Valley View. We love Whiskey Hollow Distillery and Firelight Vineyards and everybody up there. So
that's a fun hang after that ride too.
It really is.
In the little park area, plaza.
Yeah. So we're not leaving Valley View by any stretch of the imagination. Actually, we're going to do more for them than ever. I'll be up there visiting next week and figure out how we can help the community going forward. And we are really up against chaos.
Yes, I want to give a quick shout. 24 Hours in the Canyon, all three of our boys went and handled in the single speed category. McAfee took top of the podium. Our boy Garrett took second, and Donahue took third in the single speed category. Notably, all three on Chumbas as well.
So we've got the Poutine Mafia. We've got the Dutch Mafia. Can this be the Dighead Mafia?
The Dighead
Mafia.
And then also, big shout out to McAfee for he's going to be one of your privateers.
Yes,
bid.
he is.
Yeah,
nice.
Yes,
so he's looking forward to that too.
As is Justin Carey.
Oh, very cool.
Nice.
Very cool. So
not one of my privateers. One of our privateers.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's very cool. Very cool.
That's going to be fun to watch grow.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it.
I'm fascinated, to be honest with you.
Yeah. How's the turnaround go? I mean, are you getting good applications?
We have very good applications, and hopefully have some
announcements.
Some announcements coming.
Oh,
hopefully we'll see.
You tease. You silly tease.
It's not a done deal till it's a done deal.
That's right. That's right.
True.
Like our Dylan conversation was not a done deal till last minute.
That was cool. Good surprise.
Yeah. Anything else?
No. Thanks for coming to the house and hanging out.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for hosting.
All right.
Ride your bikes.